Hello everybody. If you want to read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 679, The Ballistic Ball and the Boundary. Intermediate. Penelope, a chocolate Labrador of considerable enthusiasm and minimal self-control, hurtled across the manicured lawn of Regent's Park. Her sleek brown coat caught the morning sun as she chased a discarded plastic bottle with the fierce dedication of a champion athlete. Her friend, Finlay, a dignified Border Collie with the air of highly paid accountant, trotted several cautious paces behind. "Finlay, look, it's the bottle, the best bottle." Penelope skidded to a halt, nose butting the empty Lucozade container. It made a satisfying crinkly noise. Finlay approached, shaking his black and white head slowly. "Penelope, darling, it's a piece of litter, and I suspect it's not the best one, merely the one you found most recently. Also, I think you've got goose-poo on your left ear." Penelope ignored the critique, her attention already pivoting. She saw it, a bright neon yellow tennis ball, soaring in a glorious arc high above the trees. It was thrown by a man wearing an impractical amount of beige waterproof clothing. "The ball! The ballistic ball!" Penelope cried, her voice a high-pitched squeal of pure joy. She launched herself forward like a furry brown missile, completely forgetting the bottle. Finlay sighed, a sound that could have melted glaciers. "Must we call it ballistic? It's a standard issue Slazenger, and I really think you should let that golden retriever have it. She looked ready." But Penelope was deaf to reason. The chase was on. She ran with magnificent, clumsy speed, her feet pounding the earth. The ball landed with a gentle thwump just beyond a low metal railing. Penelope didn't see the railing. She didn't see the large sign next to it that clearly read, "Dogs must remain on a lead beyond this point. Wildlife Conservation Area." She saw only the yellow orb. Finlay, however, saw both. He pulled up sharply at the railing, skidding on his back paws. "Penelope, stop! It's the boundary! You can't cross the boundary!" he barked, his usual calm replaced by frantic yelp. Penelope, already halfway over the railing, paused her frantic scramble. Her front paws were on the forbidden grass. Her rear end, which looked surprisingly like a furry loaf of bread, was still wiggling over the top of the fence. "Why not, Finlay? It's just more grass. The ball is here. The ball is waiting," she argued, her tone suggesting that the ball had personally sent her an engraved invitation. "It is not just more grass," Finlay hissed, glancing nervously at the nearby park warden who was meticulously polishing his badge. "It's the sanctuary of the non-dog-loving geese. It is £100 fine. It is rules, Penelope. Structure. Everything you naturally reject." Penelope's tail gave one last hopeful thump against the metal. But the urgency in Finlay's voice, a tone he usually reserved for discussing complex investment strategies, reached her. She hesitated, looking from the ball to Finlay's terrified expression, and then to the small, fluffy, and very angry-looking swan staring directly at her. The golden retriever, having trotted a more sensible path around the other side of the conservation area, calmly picked up the ball and returned it to her beige-clad owner. Penelope's shoulders sagged. The ballistic ball had been retrieved. The adventure was over. Slowly, and with a dramatic groan, she reversed herself, scrambling back over the railing to land with a heavy thud next to Finlay. "Well," she said, shaking her head sadly, "that was disappointing. The ballistic ball has been deballisticified." Finlay nudged her gently with his nose. "Indeed. Now, come on. We can pursue the far more sensible activity of a short nap under that large oak tree. And Penelope, I'm going to need you to stand still while I try to remove the goose-poo from your ear. It really rather spoils the aesthetic. Penelope followed him, her tail giving a tentative, happy thump. A nap sounded good, and perhaps, she thought, the discarded plastic bottle was the best bottle after all. Vocabulary notes. Enthusiasm, noun. Definition. Intense and eager enjoyment, interest or approval. A strong feeling of excitement. Example. Penelope, a chocolate Labrador of considerable enthusiasm and minimal self-control, hurtled across the manicured lawn. Similar words. Eagerness, passion, zeal, ardor, excitement. Dignified, adjective. Definition. Having or showing a composed or serious manner that is worthy of respect. Example. Finlay, a dignified Border Collie with the air of a highly paid accountant, trotted several cautious paces behind. Similar words. Solemn, stately, respectable, composed, noble, distinguished. Meticulously, adverb. Definition. In a way that shows great attention to detail, very carefully and precisely. Example. Glancing nervously at the nearby park warden who was meticulously polishing his badge. Similar words. Carefully, precisely, thoroughly, conscientiously, painstakingly. Sagged, verb past tense. Definition. Drooped, sunk, or settled downwards, especially from pressure or tiredness, or if something loses its firmness or strength. Example. Penelope's shoulders sagged. The ballistic ball had been retrieved. Similar words. Drooped, slumped, wilted, sank, collapsed, subsided. Tentative, adjective. Definition. Not certain or fixed, hesitant, done without confidence. Example. And perhaps, she thought, her tail giving a tentative happy thump. Similar words. Hesitant, cautious, uncertain, unconfirmed, experimental. Example sentences for practice. The students showed great enthusiasm for the field trip to the museum. The elderly gentleman maintained a dignified silence during the noisy argument. She planned her wedding meticulously, checking every detail twice. After a long day of work, his body sagged into the armchair. I only have a tentative booking for the flight, so I might still have to change it. Story written by Gemini AI. Image created by onemin.ai. To read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're embarking on a pretty unique deep dive.
Yeah.
Our source material isn't, the usual complex research or policy paper. It's actually a short story, a very descriptive narrative.
Oh, interesting.
And our mission really is to show you how effective storytelling can be a faster, maybe stickier way to learn vocabulary than, well, any flashcard.
Right. So we're looking at this story, The Ballistic Ball and the Boundary, with the two dogs, Penelope and Finlay.
That's the one, navigating Regent's Park.
Okay. And we've got the vocabulary notes too, but I take your point. The real magic is seeing how the dog's actions themselves, they just create these instant memorable definitions for, what is it, 5 descriptive words.
Exactly. We're using this sort of comedic conflict between these two characters as a dynamic, almost like a living textbook.
And the setting works perfectly for that. Regent's Park.
Yeah, that highly manicured London park sets the stage beautifully for chaos versus structure.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's jump right into that central dynamic then, because it immediately gives us our first pair of words. We have Penelope, the Chocolate Labrador.
Pure energy.
Pure, untethered joy, yeah. Pitted against Finlay, the Border Collie, who just embodies, well, meticulous calculation. It's a fantastic contrast.
It really is, and it feels designed for linguistic contrast. You know, if you want a definition that goes beyond the dictionary, just look at Penelope.
Exactly. We meet her early on, and she's displaying considerable enthusiasm and minimal self-control.
Minimal is putting it mildly.
Right, and what's she chasing? Not some fancy toy, but a discarded plastic bottle.
Which she has decided is the best bottle.
The best one ever. And she just hurtles across the lawn like a, well, the story says, a furry brown torpedo.
And that physical action, that pure, unchecked Labrador momentum after, let's be honest, trash, it defines the word right there. Enthusiasm.
Instantly.
It's that intense, eager enjoyment. It's not just mild interest. The vocabulary notes, they list synonyms like passion, zeal, ardor.
Zeal feels right for Penelope.
It does. She doesn't just like the bottle. She's driven by zeal. It's like an almost religious commitment to this piece of litter.
It's that excitement you just can't contain. Now, put that image right next to Finlay.
Okay. Total opposite.
Totally. The source describes him as a dignified border collie with the air of a highly paid accountant.
Love that description.
Trotting several cautious paces behind. He isn't running. He's observing.
And this is where the character work is just brilliant, because Finlay doesn't just observe. He judges.
Oh, absolutely.
He pulls up near Penelope, delivers this scathing critique, something like, "Penelope, darling, it's a piece of litter." And I suspect it's not the best one.
Huh.
Before pointing out the really crucial issue of the goose-poo on your left ear.
Only Finlay would spot the goose-poo amidst the, the frenzy for the best bottle.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And his composed, slightly judgmental manner that is the essence of dignified. The definition says, having a composed, serious manner worthy of respect.
Stately, proper.
Exactly. Stately, proper. But what's interesting, I think, is whether that dignity is like true nobility, or maybe it's just a really well-constructed mask.
Ooh, that's a good point. You mean his dignity might be a kind of survival mechanism?
I think so, yeah. He seems composed, but underneath he's constantly worried, right, about rules, sanitation, fines. So is he truly dignified, noble and respectable, or is he just really, really anxious and using that composure to keep the panic down?
Either way, it works for the definition.
It absolutely works. That image of the little accountant dog carefully trotting by in the chaos just makes words like solemn and composed stick in your mind. It's beautiful literary shorthand.
Okay, so that tension is already there. Penelope's raw zeal, Finlay's calculated composure, but then the stakes get way higher.
Ah, the ball.
The ultimate temptation appears. Penelope completely forgets the bottle because she spots a bright neon yellow tennis ball soaring in a glorious arc.
Forget zeal. This is like the ballistic response now.
Right. She immediately launches herself, names it the ballistic ball.
Of course she does.
While Finlay can only manage this dramatic sigh, the source says it could have melted glaciers.
Perfect.
Before muttering something about it just being a standard issue Slazenger.
Always bringing the mood down.
Always. So the chase is on, it's magnificent, but it leads directly to the core conflict and our next vocabulary word, the boundary. Penelope is just laser focused on the ballistic ball, which lands just beyond this low metal railing.
Yeah.
And a sign that reads, "Dogs must remain on lead beyond this point wildlife conservation area."
And this is where Finlay completely loses that composed demeanor.
Understandably.
He pulls up short. He's yelling, "It's the sanctuary of the non-dog-loving geese. It is a 100-pound fine. It is rules, Penelope. Structure."
That little outburst tells you everything about how fragile his dignified composure really was.
Totally fragile. He's facing financial ruin and angry geese simultaneously.
Yeah.
It's his worst nightmare.
The boundary is real. The fine threat is real. The goose threat, definitely real. But what really validates Finlay's panic and solidifies this whole rule structure is the immediate presence of authority.
The park warden.
Yeah, park warden.
And we get introduced to him through just one perfect adverb that makes the stakes feel incredibly high. Finlay glances nervously at the nearby warden.
And the warden was?
Who was meticulously polishing his badge.
Ah, that detail is just brilliant. It tells you everything, doesn't it? Everything about the fine without the narrator even having to say, this fine is definitely going to happen.
It's a masterclass in showing, not telling, right?
Yeah.
The word meticulously, it means doing something with great attention to detail, very carefully, precisely.
So he isn't just standing there.
No. He's painstakingly focused on the cleanliness of his badge. And you just know, if he's that dedicated to polishing a badge.
He's definitely going to be conscientious about enforcing a 100-pound fine.
Exactly.
Huh.
That one word, meticulously, it's like narrative foreshadowing. It tells us this guy, this agent of structure, he is thorough. Finlay knows it, and that's why he's screaming about rules.
It completely validates his terror.
Completely. Words like painstakingly, conscientiously, thoroughly, they all fit. The stakes feel real because the enforcer is just so incredibly focused.
Okay, so Penelope is caught, front paws over the railing on the forbidden grass. She's paralyzed, basically.
Torn.
Between the call of the ballistic ball, which, remember, she felt sent her an engraved invitation.
Naturally.
And the shrieking voice of Finlay, her financial advisor, warning her about geese and fines. And her back end, which the story hilariously says looks surprisingly like a furry loaf of bread, is just wiggling indecisively over the railing.
It's the perfect physical picture of that internal conflict. Stuck. And then we get the anticlimax, which is funny, but also kind of a relief.
Yeah, the whole object of this crisis is suddenly gone, retrieved, but not by Penelope. No. She pauses just long enough to notice this small, fluffy, and very angry-looking swan.
Uh-oh.
And in that split second of hesitation, a golden retriever just snaps up the ballistic ball by taking a more sensible path around the other side.
The contrast is just brilliant again.
Yeah.
The sensible retriever didn't use enthusiasm.
No.
They used patience, logic. They just avoided the boundary altogether. Smart dog.
Which brings us to the emotional fallout for Penelope, the cost of her defeat.
Right. She doesn't just walk away defeated.
No, she reverses herself with this dramatic groan, apparently, and lands with a heavy thud. And the source says, quite simply, Penelope's shoulders sagged.
Ah, that verb, sagged.
Yeah.
It's the perfect emotional summary, isn't it?
It really is.
It means, to droop, sink, settle downwards. Usually when something loses its firmness or strength, her whole ballistic energy or sense of purpose just gone, evaporated.
Collapse, subsided.
Exactly. It's the physical embodiment of disappointment. You just see the energy drain right out of her.
So after all that high drama, potential financial ruin, she returns to safety. Finlay, having saved them from the 100 pounds fine.
The hero of the hour, in his own way.
Nudges her towards a nap and, importantly, insists on meticulously cleaning the goose-poo off her ear.
Of course. Priorities. But the resolution isn't just misery, is it? There's a little return to her core joy.
Right. She ultimately decides that maybe, just maybe, the discarded plastic bottle was the best bottle after all.
Back to square one, but maybe wiser.
Maybe. And her tail gives a final thump. But crucially, that thump isn't the same frenzied wagging we saw earlier.
No, it's described specifically as a tentative, happy thump. And that single adjective, tentative, that's the final subtle victory of structure over pure zeal.
Ah, okay.
Tentative means, not certain or fixed,
Yeah.
hesitant, done without full confidence. Her happiness is there, but it's cautious now.
Hesitant, uncertain.
Yeah, exactly, because she got burned, right, by the boundary, by the swan. She now knows the potential downside of pure, unadulterated enthusiasm.
So the story kind of ends with Penelope realizing that maybe caution forced on her by the fine, and Finlay, maybe it's not such a bad thing after all.
I think so. That tentative thump shows her inherent joy is still there, but it's now sort of fighting against this newly learned caution.
And that really sums up the value of this deep dive, doesn't it? We've taken this engaging, funny story. I mean, the furry loaf of bread comparison, Finlay's dignified annoyance.
The goose-poo.
The goose-poo. And we've anchored these 5 really useful descriptive words: enthusiasm, dignified, meticulously sagged, and tentative.
And you understand them now, not just as definitions, but as feelings and actions.
Right. You know that enthusiasm is that physical launch across a park, and dignified is the exact opposite, meticulously confirmed stakes and severity.
And you felt the emotional weight of sagged and the kind of subtle recovery in tentative. The context just makes the knowledge stick. It makes it useful.
Yeah, applicable.
The real takeaway here is just how much power these precise descriptive words have in a story. They aren't just, window dressing. They're emotional and contextual shortcuts. They save the writer time and leave you, the reader, with a much clearer, more memorable picture.
Okay, so building on that theme then, structure versus spontaneous joy, here's a final thought for you to maybe consider. When Finlay, the dignified accountant dog, watches Penelope's pure enthusiasm just sag into disappointment, how often in your own life is taking a more tentative step forward actually the most meticulous, maybe even the smartest path toward success?